The red warning lights flashed across the command center as Admiral Jake Morrison stared at the massive screen before him. The urgent message had arrived just 30 minutes ago, but it felt like a lifetime. His weathered hands gripped the edge of the metal table as he read the alien transmission for the third time. "Sir, we need your decision," said Commander Ryan Hughes, standing beside him with a worried expression. The younger officer had served under Morrison for 5 years, but he had never seen his admiral look so troubled. Morrison looked around the room at his senior staff. Dr. Lisa Bennett sat at her workstation, her fingers moving quickly across the keyboard as she analyzed the alien message. Captain Jenny Walsh stood near the communications panel, her face pale as she listened to reports from human colonies across the galaxy. The room buzzed with quiet conversations and the steady hum of, "Computers, show me the transmission again," Morrison said quietly. The main screen flickered and a tall figure appeared. The alien was unlike anything they had seen before. Its body seemed to be made of living crystal, with light pulsing through its transparent skin. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical. "I am Zeth Kalar, speaker for the Galactic Confederation. We address the species known as humans. You have violated the sacred boundary doctrine by entering the Kepler 442 system. This system is holy ground protected by laws older than your civilization." The alien's glowing eyes seemed to stare directly at Morrison through the screen. "You have 72 hours to remove all human presence from systems beyond your home, star. All colonies, mining operations, and military vessels must return to the Sol system immediately. If you refuse, the Confederation will remove you by force." The message ended with an image that made everyone in the room go silent. Thousands of alien ships hung in space at the edge of the solar system, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. The fleet was massive, stretching for millions of miles in every direction. Dr. Bennett stood up from her workstation, her face tense. "Admiral, I've been studying their ships. The energy readings are off the charts. Each one of those vessels is more powerful than our entire defense fleet combined." Morrison nodded slowly. He had been afraid of that. Earth's space navy consisted of 200 ships built over the past 50 years as humanity expanded into the galaxy. They were good ships, crewed by brave men and women, but they were nothing compared to what now threatened them. "What about our colonies?" Morrison asked. "How many people are we talking about?" Captain Walsh checked her tablet. 17 colonies with a total population of 12 million people. New Austin in the Tau Ceti system has the most, with about 3 million colonists. The mining operation in Kepler 442 has only 50,000 workers, but they're the ones who supposedly started this mess. Morrison walked to the large window that looked out over Lake Geneva. The United Nations Space Command headquarters had been built here after the Third World War, a symbol of humanity's unity as they reached for the stars. Now it seemed like that dream was about to end. "Sir," said Dr. Bennett, "I've been studying the transmission. There's something strange about their claim. They say we violated some ancient law, but we've been exploring space for decades. Why? Is this the first time we're hearing about it?" Morrison turned back to face his team. "What do you mean?" "The Kepler 442 system," Dr. Bennett explained. "Our mining teams found something there 3 months ago. Ruins, ancient buildings that don't match any known alien architecture. The workers thought they were just old rocks, but the scans showed they were artificial." Commander Hughes frowned. "You think that's what upset them?" "Maybe," Dr. Bennett said. "But here's the thing. The ruins don't look alien. They look human." The room fell silent. Morrison stared at the scientist, trying to understand what she was saying. "That's impossible. Humans have only been in space for 100 years. "That's what I thought too," Dr. Bennett replied. "But the materials, the construction, methods, even the proportions of the doorways and corridors, everything suggests they were built by beings very similar to us." Captain Walsh's communicator buzzed. She listened for a moment, then looked up with a grim expression. "Admiral, President Carter is on the line. She wants to speak with you immediately." Morrison nodded and walked to his private office. The screen on his desk flickered to life, showing President Amy Carter sitting in the Oval Office. Behind her, Morrison could see other officials and military leaders gathered around tables covered with papers and computers. "Jake," the president said, using his first name as she always did in private conversations. "I've been briefed on the situation. The world leaders are in emergency session. Everyone wants to know what our options are." Morrison took a deep breath. "Amy, we're outgunned by at least 50-1. If we fight, we'll lose. But if we surrender, we abandon 12 million people to whatever these aliens have planned." The president's face was tight with stress. "The Chinese and Russians are suggesting we negotiate. Maybe we can work out some kind of deal." "What kind of deal?" Morrison asked. "They want us to abandon every colony we've built, every world we've settled. They want to cage us in our own solar system." "Better than extinction," came a voice from behind the president. Morrison recognized General Robert Cole, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Morrison felt anger rising in his chest. "Is it? What happens next time? What happens when they decide our home system violates some other ancient law?" President Carter leaned forward. "Jake, I need you to be realistic. Can we win this fight?" Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Outside his window, he could see the lights of Geneva twinkling in the evening darkness. Somewhere up there, beyond the atmosphere, an alien fleet waited to destroy everything humanity had built. "Not in a straight fight," he admitted, "but maybe we don't have to fight fair." The president raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Give me 6 hours," Morrison said. "I want to talk to my people, review our options. Then I'll give you my recommendation." After the call ended, Morrison returned to the command center. His staff was still there, working frantically to analyze the alien threat and coordinate with the colonies. He gathered them around the main table. "All right, people," he said. "We have 6 hours to figure out how to save humanity. I want every option on the table, no matter how crazy it sounds." Dr. Bennett was the first to speak. "Admiral, there's something else about those ruins. The mining team found what looks like a message carved into one of the walls. It's in an ancient human language, but we've managed to translate part of it." "What does it say?" Morrison asked. Dr. Bennett pulled up an image on her tablet. Ancient. Symbols covered a stone wall, worn by time but still visible. It says, "The children of Earth will return. The betrayers will face judgment." Commander Hughes shook his head. "That doesn't make sense. How could ancient humans know about Earth?" "Maybe they didn't," Dr. Bennett said quietly. "Maybe Earth wasn't the first human world." Morrison stared at the image, a strange feeling growing in his chest. "Keep working on the translation. I want to know everything those ruins can tell us." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Messages came in from the colonies, all asking for orders. The alien fleet remained at the edge of the solar system waiting. On Earth, people gathered in streets and homes, watching the news and wondering if they would see another sunrise. At exactly 72 hours after the first transmission, Morrison stood in the command center surrounded by his staff. The alien fleet was still there, dark and threatening against the stars. It was time to give Earth's answer. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," Morrison ordered. The screen flickered, and Zeth Kalar's crystalline face appeared. "Have you decided to accept our terms?" Morrison stood straight, his voice clear and strong. "I am Admiral Jake Morrison, commander of Earth's Space Forces. I speak for all of humanity." The alien waited, its glowing eyes fixed on Morrison. "Humanity does not kneel," Morrison said. "We have done nothing wrong, and we will not abandon our people. You have sealed your fate." The alien attack began exactly 1 hour after Admiral Morrison's defiant message. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was patrolling near Jupiter when his radar screen lit up with hundreds of contacts. The enemy ships moved like a dark cloud through space, their hulls gleaming under the distant sun. "All units, this is Eagle Leader." Steve spoke into his radio. "Enemy contacts approaching fast. Count is over 300 ships. We have 12 fighters. This is going to be interesting." His squadron spread out in formation, their small ships looking like insects compared to the massive alien vessels. Steve's hands were steady on the controls despite the fear in his stomach. He had been flying for 10 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Eagle 2 to Eagle Leader," came the voice of Lieutenant Maria Santos. "Those ships are huge. Our weapons won't even scratch them." Steve watched the alien fleet approach. The lead ships were the size of skyscrapers, bristling with weapon ports and energy shields. Behind them came smaller vessels, but even these were larger than Earth's biggest warships. "Remember your training," Steve told his pilots. "We're not here to win. We're here to buy time and gather information. Hit-and-run tactics only. Don't try to be heroes." The first alien ship opened fire, sending beams of purple energy streaming through space. Steve threw his fighter into a sharp turn, feeling the G-forces press him into his seat. The energy beam missed him by mere feet, the heat from it making his instruments flicker. "They're fast," he radioed to his squadron. "Faster than our intelligence," reports suggested. "Stay mobile and keep your distance." Meanwhile, 17 light-years away, Colonel Beth Martinez stood on the command deck of New Austin's orbital station. Through the windows, she could see the colony's 3 moons and the sprawling cities that humanity had built over the past 30 years. 3 million people called this place home, and now an alien fleet was approaching to destroy them all. "Ma'am, we have contacts on long-range sensors," reported Sergeant Tony Williams from the sensor station. "Looks like about 200 ships heading straight for us." Beth nodded grimly. New Austin's defenses consisted of 4 aging frigates and a handful of fighter squadrons. They had been built to protect against pirates and raiders, not an alien. "Invasion force. Send out the evacuation order," she commanded. "All civilians to the underground shelters. Military personnel to battle stations." The colony's warning sirens began to wail across the planet's surface. In the cities below, people grabbed their emergency bags and ran for the nearest shelter entrances. Parents carried their children while looking up at the sky, wondering if they would ever see the sun again. Captain Rick Davis, commander of the frigate New Hope, contacted Beth from his ship. "Colonel, my sensors show those alien vessels have enough firepower to crack this planet like an egg. We need to evacuate as many people as possible." "Negative, Captain," Beth replied. "We stand and fight. Every minute we hold them here is another minute for people to reach safety." Back in the Sol system, Steve's fighter squadron was learning hard lessons about alien technology. The enemy ships moved with impossible grace, their energy weapons reaching across vast distances to strike at the human fighters. 3 of Steve's pilots were already gone, their ships turned to vapor by the alien beams. "Eagle Leader, this is..." "Eagle 5, called Lieutenant Danny Kim. "I'm making an attack run on their lead ship. Maybe I can slow them down." "Negative, Eagle 5, Steve shouted into his radio. "Break off and retreat, that's an order." But Danny was already diving toward the massive alien vessel, his fighter's engines glowing bright blue as he pushed them to maximum power. Steve watched in horror as dozens of energy beams reached out from the alien ship like deadly fingers. Danny's fighter vanished in a ball of fire. The sacrifice wasn't meaningless. In those few seconds, Steve's instruments recorded detailed scans of the alien ship's hull and weapons. The data would be valuable if anyone survived to use it. On New Austin, the first alien ships entered orbit around the planet. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, their crystalline hulls reflecting the light from the system's twin stars. But beauty turned to horror when they began firing on the cities below. Beth watched from the orbital station as beams of energy struck the planet's surface. Where they hit, entire city blocks simply ceased to exist, turned to dust and vapor. The underground shelters held, their thick walls designed to withstand nuclear weapons, but the surface cities were being systematically destroyed. "All ships attack pattern Delta," Beth ordered her small fleet. "Target their weapon systems if possible." The 4 human frigates charged toward the alien fleet like ancient knights attacking a dragon. Their missiles and energy weapons struck, the alien shields creating brilliant flashes of light but doing little real damage. The aliens responded with devastating precision, destroying 2 of the frigates in seconds. Captain Davis's ship, the New Hope, managed to get close enough to one alien vessel to ram it. The collision tore both ships apart, but the explosion seemed to confuse the other alien ships for a few moments. It was a small victory bought with a terrible price. Back near Jupiter, Steve and his remaining pilots were being pushed back toward Earth. The alien fleet had barely slowed despite their efforts. Worse, his instruments were picking up something that made his blood run cold. "Command, this is Eagle Leader," he radioed to Earth. The aliens have some kind of communication system linking all their ships. They move like a single organism, not individual vessels. Our standard tactics won't work against them. Dr. Lisa Bennett received Steve's report in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. She had been studying the alien technology, data that the surviving pilots were sending back, and a disturbing pattern was emerging. "Admiral," she called to Morrison, who was coordinating the defense from multiple screens. "I think I know how their fleet works so well together. They're using quantum entanglement for instant communication across their entire force." Morrison looked up from his tactical displays. "Explain it in simple terms, Doctor." "Imagine their fleet as a single brain with thousands of bodies," Lisa said. "Each ship knows instantly what every other ship is doing. They can coordinate attacks and movements perfectly because they're all connected." Commander Ryan Hughes, who had been monitoring communications from the colonies, turned toward them with a grim expression. "Admiral, we've lost contact with New Austin. The last transmission showed the orbital station under heavy attack." Morrison closed his eyes for a moment. 3 million people, gone or dying while he watched from safety. The weight of command had never felt heavier. "What about the other colonies?" he asked. 7 more are under attack," Ryan replied. "The aliens are hitting them simultaneously across the galaxy. It's a coordinated assault designed to break our will to fight." On his tactical screen, Morrison could see the red dots representing alien fleets spreading across human space like a disease. Each dot represented millions of lives at risk, years of human dreams and achievements about to be erased. But in the underground laboratories, engineer Nick Thompson was working frantically on humanity's last hope. Project Prometheus had been in development for 20 years, a theoretical weapon that no one had ever expected to use. Now it might be their only chance for survival. "The quantum resonance cascade is almost ready," Nick reported to his team. "But we need more data on their communication system, how it works, what frequencies it uses, how the individual ships connect to the network." His assistant, Dr. Karen White, looked up from her computer. "The fighter pilots are sending back scanner data, but it's fragmentary. We need someone to get much closer to an alien ship, close enough to do detailed scans." Nick nodded grimly. "That means someone has to practically ram one of those things and survive long enough to transmit the data back to us." Meanwhile, Steve's remaining fighters were down to just 4 ships. They had been pushed back almost to Mars, fighting a running battle against impossible odds. His fuel was running low, and his weapons were nearly depleted. "Eagle leader to Earth. Command," he radioed. "We can't hold them much longer. The enemy fleet will reach Earth orbit in approximately 18 hours. Admiral Morrison's voice came back over the radio, calm and steady, despite the desperate situation. "Eagle leader, fall back to Earth. You've done enough. We'll handle things from here." But Steve looked at his scanner and saw something that changed everything. One of the alien ships had separated from the main fleet, moving more slowly than the others. Its energy signatures were different, suggesting it might be damaged or having technical problems. "Eagle 2, Eagle 7, Eagle 9, he called to his surviving pilots. "Form up on my wing. We're going to get a close look at that straggler." "Sir, our orders are to fall back," protested Lieutenant Santos. "New orders," Steve replied, turning his fighter toward the lone alien ship. "We're going to get the data that Earth needs to fight back. Follow me in." The 4 human fighters dove toward the alien vessel like hawks attacking a giant. The ship's defenses were indeed weakened, its energy beams moving more slowly than usual. Steve pushed his fighter closer than any human had ever been to an alien ship, his scanners recording every detail of its hull and energy signatures. "Got it," he radioed back to Earth. "Transmitting all scanner data now." Commander Ryan Hughes floated in the wreckage near Europa, his rescue ship moving carefully through the debris field. The twisted metal and scattered equipment told the story of a fierce battle. Somewhere in this mess was Admiral Morrison's escape pod if he had survived the destruction of his flagship. "Contact on scanner," reported Sergeant Mike Chen from the sensor station. "Small object about 2 kilometers ahead. It's giving off a weak distress signal." Ryan guided their ship through the floating wreckage. The escape pod was badly damaged, its hull scarred by energy weapons and micrometeorite impacts. but it was intact and the life support systems were still functioning. Admiral Morrison, this is Commander Hughes. Can you hear me? The radio crackled for a moment before Morrison's tired voice came through. Ryan, good to hear your voice. I thought I was going to become a permanent resident of this junk field. As they pulled the escape pod into their ship's cargo bay, Ryan noticed something unusual. Another pod was drifting nearby, but this one was different. Its hull was smooth and crystalline, clearly alien in design. Sir, there's an alien escape pod here too, Ryan reported to Morrison as they helped him out of his damaged pod. Morrison's eyes sharpened despite his exhaustion. Bring it aboard. Carefully. Whatever's inside might be valuable. The alien pod was heavier than expected, and when they opened it, they found a being that looked like a smaller version of Zeth Kalar. Its crystalline body was cracked in several places and strange fluid leaked from the wounds. But it was alive, and its glowing eyes tracked their movements. I am Vex Thul, the alien said in heavily accented English. I demand to be returned to my fleet immediately. Morrison studied the wounded alien. You're in no position to make demands. Your fleet is trying to wipe out my species. Give me one reason why I shouldn't space you right now. The alien's glow dimmed slightly. Because I can tell you the truth about your species. The truth your leaders have hidden from you. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Bennett was working around the clock in the underground research facility. The ancient ruins data from Kepler 442 covered every wall of her laboratory, and she was beginning to see patterns that made her stomach turn cold. Nick, come look at this, she called to engineer Nick Thompson, who was still working on Project Prometheus in the next room. Nick walked over, wiping grease from his hands. The past week of constant work had left him exhausted, but the urgency of their situation kept him going. Lisa pointed to a series of symbols carved into one of the ancient walls. I've been working on translating more of these writings. This section talks about 12 species that the ancient humans helped develop space travel. Helped how? Nick asked. Technology transfer, Lisa explained. The ancient humans found these 12 species when they were still primitive. They shared knowledge, helped them build ships and energy weapons, even gave them the quantum communication technology. Nick frowned as he studied the symbols. That sounds familiar. Wasn't the Galactic Confederation made up of 12 species? Exactly, 12, Lisa confirmed. And look at this next section. It talks about betrayal, about the 12 species turning against their teachers and stealing their technology. The pieces were starting to fit together, but the picture they formed was too horrible to believe. If Lisa's translation was correct, then humanity wasn't facing unknown aliens. They were facing the descendants of species that had once been humanity's students and allies. Meanwhile, in the interrogation room, Admiral Morrison sat across from the alien prisoner. Vex Thul's wounds had been treated by human medics, though. No one was sure if their techniques would work on crystalline biology. Your species calls itself human, Vex Thul said, its voice like wind chimes in a storm. But you are not the first humans we have encountered. Morrison leaned forward. Explain. 50,000 of your years ago, we were young species, barely able to create fire. Then the first humans came. They traveled between stars in great ships, spreading knowledge and peace throughout the galaxy. The alien's glow pulsed as it continued. They taught us everything. How to build tools, how to harness energy, how to travel through space. They showed us the quantum pathways that link distant stars. And then, Morrison prompted. Vex Thul's light dimmed. Then we grew strong enough to no longer need teachers. The first humans wanted to create a galactic council where all species would be equal. But we had learned their greatest lesson too well. Which was that the strong rule the weak. The alien replied. We 12 species joined together and turned their own weapons against them. We destroyed their worlds, took their technology, and claimed the galaxy for ourselves. Morrison felt a cold rage building in his chest. You committed genocide. We thought we had killed them all, Vex Thul admitted. But it seems some escaped to a distant world called Earth. Now you have returned, and the cycle begins again. In Her laboratory, Dr. Bennett was making connections that confirmed the alien story. The quantum signatures from the Confederation's technology matched perfectly with equations carved into the ancient ruins. Even more disturbing, she had found references to Earth in the writings. "The exile world beyond the rim," she read aloud, "where the last children sleep until the stars call them home." Captain Jenny Walsh, who had been monitoring communications from across the galaxy, burst into the laboratory with urgent news. "Dr. Bennett, you need to see this. We just intercepted alien communications from their command fleet." The message was in the aliens' own language, but their computers had learned enough to provide a rough translation. "The exiled children have awakened as predicted. The ancient protocols must be activated. Prepare the final weapon." "Final weapon?" Lisa asked. "There's more," Jenny continued. "Our spy satellites detected massive energy buildups in the alien fleet. They're preparing something big, something they've apparently been saving for a situation like this." Nick looked up from his work on Project Prometheus. "How long do we have?" "Based on their energy readings, maybe 18 hours before whatever they're building is ready to use." Morrison arrived at the laboratory just as they were discussing the alien weapon. His interrogation of Vex Thule had revealed even more disturbing information. "The prisoner confirmed what you've discovered," he told the team. "The Confederation isn't just using stolen human technology. Their entire civilization is built on the ruins of our ancestors' empire." "There's something else," Morrison continued. "According to Vex Thule, this has happened before. Other species have developed technology similar to the ancient humans, and the Confederation has wiped them out every time." Dr. Bennett pulled up a star chart showing the locations of dead systems that human explorers had discovered over the years. 12 other species in the past 1,000 years. All of them showed signs of advanced technology before their civilization suddenly ended. "The Confederation has been systematically eliminating any species that might challenge their rule," Morrison realized. "We're not their first target. We're just their latest." Nick had been listening while continuing his work on the quantum virus. "Admiral, I think I know what their final weapon is. If they're using the same technology that our ancestors developed, then they probably have something similar to what I'm building." "Which is?" "A way to turn quantum communication networks into weapons," Nick explained. "Instead of coordinating ships, the network could be used to overload power systems, corrupt computer programs, even affect biological functions in species that use quantum-based neural networks." Morrison understood immediately. They could shut down every piece of technology on Earth with a single command. "Worse than that," Nick said grimly. "If humans have any quantum-based biological functions, like the neural pathways that control memory and consciousness, they could potentially kill every human in the galaxy simultaneously." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. The Confederation wasn't just planning to conquer humanity. They were planning to erase them completely, just as they had done to the ancient humans and 12 other species. "How close are you to finishing the virus?" Morrison asked. Nick looked at his equipment, calculating quickly. "Maybe 12 hours if everything goes perfectly. But I need someone to get close enough to their command ship to upload it into their network." "That's a suicide mission," Commander Hughes pointed out. "Their fleet has thousands of ships protecting the command vessel." Morrison was quiet for a long moment, studying the tactical displays that showed the alien fleet positions. "Not necessarily. We have something they don't expect us to have." "What's that?" Lisa asked. "Knowledge of how their technology really works," Morrison replied. "If it's based on ancient human designs, then maybe we can find weaknesses that the original builders included." Dr. Bennett pulled up the ancient writings again, searching for technical details about the quantum communication system. There might be something here. The ancient humans weren't stupid. If they were giving this technology to other species, they might have built-in safeguards. "Safeguards like what?" Nick asked. "Emergency shutdown codes," Lisa said, her excitement growing. "Ways to disable the network if it was ever used against them. The ancients couldn't have predicted the exact betrayal, but they were smart enough to." Dr. Lisa Bennett's eyes burned from staring at the ancient symbols for hours, but she had finally found what they were looking for. The emergency codes were hidden in a section of text that looked like poetry, but was actually a technical manual, disguised as art. "I've got them," she announced to the team gathered around her workstation. "The shutdown codes for the quantum communication network. The ancient humans called it the Unity Web, and they built in 3 different ways to disable it." Admiral Morrison looked exhausted but alert. "How does it work?" "Think of it like a master key," Lisa explained. "The ancient humans created a backdoor that would let them shut down the entire network if it was ever used against them. But there's a catch." Nick Thompson looked up from his virus programming. "What kind of catch?" "Someone has to be physically connected to the main node of the network to input the codes," Lisa said. "And according to these writings, the main node is always located on the command ship of whatever fleet is using the system." Commander Ryan Hughes studied the tactical displays showing the alien fleet positions. "That command ship is surrounded by at least 1,000 other vessels. Getting close to it would be impossible." Morrison walked to the window, looking out at the mountains where alien energy beams were already starting to strike. The first attacks on Earth had begun, targeting military installations and communication centers. Soon they would move on to cities. "Not impossible," he said quietly. "Just very difficult." Captain Jenny Walsh looked up from her communications console. "Admiral, I'm picking up chatter from the alien fleet. They're talking about something called the Final Protocol. Whatever it is, they're planning to activate it in 8 hours. That must be their ultimate weapon," Morrison realized. "The one Vex Thule warned us about." In his laboratory, Nick had been working to combine his quantum virus with Lisa's shutdown codes. The result would be a weapon that could turn the aliens' own network against them, but deploying it would require incredible precision and timing. "I've finished the program," Nick announced. "It's designed to spread through their quantum network, like a disease, but instead of just disrupting communications, it will overload their power systems and shut down their weapons." "How long will it take to affect their entire fleet?" Morrison asked. "If we can upload it to their main node." "Maybe 30 minutes for complete network penetration," Nick replied. "But there's no guarantee it will work. We're essentially trying to hack a system that's 50,000 years more advanced than anything we've ever built." Morrison made his decision. "I'll take the stealth ship and get close enough to upload the virus." "Sir, that's suicide," Ryan protested. "Even if you get past their outer defenses, their command ship probably has shields and weapons we've never seen before." "Maybe," Morrison agreed. "But I'm not going alone." He turned to address the entire team. "I need volunteers for what might be a one-way mission. We're going to take a modified stealth ship, penetrate their fleet, and plant this virus in their command vessel." Lieutenant Kate Douglas stepped forward immediately. She was one of Earth's best systems specialists, capable of interfacing with alien technology under pressure. "I'm in, Admiral. Someone needs to handle the technical side of uploading the virus." Sergeant Danny Mitchell was next. The demolitions expert had served with Morrison for 8 years and never backed down from a dangerous mission. "You'll need someone to watch your back while you work. Count me in." Morrison looked at his small team. 3 people against a fleet of thousands, armed with nothing but stolen alien technology and ancient human knowledge. It should have been hopeless, but something about the mission felt right to him. "The ship leaves in 2 hours," Morrison announced. "Use that time to prepare whatever you think you'll need." While Morrison's team prepared for their mission, Dr. Bennett continued studying the ancient texts. She had found something else in the writings, something that might change everything. "Jenny, come look at this," she called to Captain Walsh. "I found references to other human colonies, places where our ancestors might have hidden when the Confederation attacked them." Jenny studied the symbols that Lisa had translated. "It talks about sleeping worlds and hidden children." "What does that mean?" "I think some of our ancestors might have survived the original attack," Lisa explained. "They went into hiding, maybe using technology to preserve themselves until it was safe to emerge." "You mean there might be other humans out there? Original humans with all their advanced technology?" Lisa nodded excitedly. "According to this text, the sleeping worlds were programmed to wake up if Earth ever faced the same threat. Our broadcasts and the alien attack might have triggered their awakening. Meanwhile, Morrison was making final preparations for his mission aboard the stealth ship UES Ghost. The vessel had been modified with alien technology captured from previous battles, allowing it to partially mimic the energy signatures of Confederation. Ship's Kate Douglas ran through her equipment one final time. Her job would be to interface with the alien computer systems and upload Nick's virus to their main communication node. She had studied every piece of alien technology they had captured, but she knew the command ship would have security systems beyond anything they had encountered. "Admiral," she said, "what if their main computer has biological components? Some of the alien technology we've analyzed seems to be part living organism." Morrison considered this. "Then you'll have to be creative. The important thing is getting that virus into their network before they can activate their final protocol." Sergeant Danny Mitchell was loading explosive charges into his equipment pack. "If we can't complete the mission, at least we can make sure their command ship doesn't survive to tell the tale." The stealth ship launched from a hidden base in the asteroid belt, using the cover of space debris to mask its approach. Morrison piloted the ship carefully through the outer edges of the alien fleet, his instruments showing thousands of enemy vessels in perfect formation. "Their coordination is incredible," Kate observed, watching the alien ships move in perfect synchronization. "It's like they're all parts of a single organism." "That's exactly what they are," Morrison replied. "Connected through the unity web that our ancestors built. But every strength can become a weakness if you know how to exploit it." As they moved deeper into the alien fleet, Morrison noticed something strange. The ships weren't just arranged for battle. They were forming a massive, geometric pattern, with the command ship at the center of what looked like a giant antenna. "That's not a battle formation," Danny realized. "They're building some kind of transmission array." Morrison felt ice in his veins as he understood what they were seeing. The final protocol, they're not just planning to destroy Earth, they're planning to broadcast a signal that will kill every human in the galaxy simultaneously. The alien command ship was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. Its crystalline hull pulsed with energy, and Morrison could see smaller ships docking with it constantly, presumably delivering components for whatever weapon they were building inside. "How are we supposed to get inside that thing?" Kate asked, staring at the massive vessel. "The same way our ancestors would have," Morrison replied, remembering something from the ancient texts. Lisa found references to maintenance codes, ways that the original builders could access any ship using their technology. He began inputting the ancient codes that Dr. Bennett had discovered. To his amazement, a section of the command ship's hull began to open, revealing a docking bay that looked like it had been waiting 50,000 years for someone to use it. "The ancients really did think of everything," Danny said with admiration. As they docked inside the alien ship, Morrison's team found themselves in a corridor that looked disturbingly familiar. The proportions were clearly designed for human-sized beings, and the walls showed the same architectural style as the ruins on Kepler 442. This ship was built using human designs, Kate realized. They didn't just steal the technology, they copied entire blueprint databases. The team made their way through the ship's corridors using ancient maintenance codes to bypass security systems. But as they got closer to the command center, they encountered something unexpected. The walls began showing images of the past. Holographic displays activated automatically, showing scenes from 50,000 years ago. Morrison watched in fascination as ancient humans worked alongside the 12 species that would eventually betray them. "Look at this," Kate called from a side corridor. "It's some kind of memorial." The room she had found contained what looked like a museum dedicated to the destroyed human civilization. Artifacts, artwork, and technology were displayed like trophies of war. But there was something else. Those aren't just trophies, Morrison realized. They're keeping this stuff because they feel guilty. Danny found a section of the memorial that contained preserved human remains. They didn't just kill our ancestors. They've been carrying their bones around for 50,000 years. The discovery filled Morrison with a cold rage, but also a strange sense of justice. The aliens had built their entire civilization on humanity's grave, but they had never been able to forget what they had done. Now their victims' descendants had come to collect what was owed. "The command center is just ahead," Kate reported, checking her scanner. The command center doors slid open as Admiral Morrison and his team entered the heart of the alien flagship. The room was enormous, filled with crystalline beings working at stations that pulsed with energy. At the center stood Zeth Kalar, even larger than he had appeared on the transmission screens. "Impossible," the alien leader said, turning to face the humans. "No exiled children could penetrate our defenses." Morrison stepped forward, his weapon ready, but not yet raised. "Your defenses were built with human technology. Did you really think we wouldn't know how to get past them?" Around the command center, dozens of alien officers froze at their stations. Some reached for weapons, but Zeth Kalar raised a crystalline hand to stop them. "You are too late," the alien leader said. "The final protocol is already charging. In 1 hour, every human in the galaxy will cease to exist just as your ancestors did." Kate Douglas was already moving toward the central computer console, her equipment ready to upload Nick's virus. But Sergeant Danny Mitchell grabbed her arm, pointing at the massive display screens around the room. "Look at that," he said quietly. The screens showed star maps of the entire galaxy, with thousands of red dots indicating human settlements and ships. But there were also blue dots appearing across the display, concentrated in sectors that had been marked as empty space. "What are those blue contacts?" Morrison demanded. Zeth Kalar's glow dimmed slightly. "The sleeping worlds are awakening. Your distress signals have reached them across the void, but it matters nothing. They will die with the rest of your species." Morrison felt his heart racing as he understood what they were seeing. Dr. Bennett had been right. Ancient human colonies had survived, hidden for 50,000 years, waiting for the signal that their descendants needed help. "How many?" Morrison asked. 12 sleeping worlds," Zeth Kalar admitted. 12 colonies that escaped our purge. They have been hidden beyond the galactic rim, but your war has called them home. Kate reached the main computer console and began connecting her equipment. The alien technology was indeed partly biological, but she had expected this. Her systems were designed to interface with both mechanical and living components. "I'm in," she reported. "But their security is fighting back. It's like the computer is alive and trying to reject the virus." Morrison moved closer to Zeth Kalar, keeping his weapon trained on the alien leader. "Why did you do it? Our ancestors helped you, taught you everything you know. Why did you betray them?" The crystalline being's light pulsed with what might have been emotion. "Because they were going to give the same gifts to others, hundreds of primitive species across the galaxy. They wanted to create a federation of equals, where no one species ruled over the rest. And you couldn't accept that." "We had tasted power," Zeth Kalar said. "Your ancestors made us strong, gave us weapons and ships that could conquer worlds. Why should we share that strength with lesser beings?" Danny Mitchell was setting up explosive charges around the command center, preparing for the possibility that their mission might fail. But as he worked, he noticed something strange about the room's construction. "Admiral," he called softly. "These walls, the layout of this room, it's identical to the command centers on our ships." Morrison looked around and realized Danny was right. The aliens hadn't just stolen human technology. They had copied entire ship designs down to the smallest details. This command center was built using the same principles as Earth's own vessels. "Kate, how's the upload going?" Morrison asked. 50% complete, she replied, sweat beading on her forehead as she fought against the alien security systems. "But something's happening. The computer is trying to communicate with me." On her screen, symbols began appearing that looked familiar. They were the same ancient human writings that Dr. Bennett had been translating. "It's showing me the original programming," Kate said in amazement. "The base code that everything else is built on, it's all human." Zeth Kalar moved closer, his massive form towering over the humans. "Your ancestors built well. Even after 50,000 years, their code remains at the heart of our systems. We could never fully remove it." "Because you didn't understand it?" Morrison realized. "You copied the technology, but you never really comprehended how it worked." "We understood enough," the alien leader replied. "Enough to build an empire that has lasted 50 millennia." But as Morrison watched the displays around the room, he could see that empire starting to crumble. The blue dots representing awakening, human colonies were spreading across the galaxy, and each one that came online seemed to be affecting the Confederation's fleet. "Upload at 75%, Kate reported. But the computer is doing something strange. It's not just accepting the virus, it's welcoming it." On Earth, Dr. Lisa Bennett was monitoring the mission from the underground command center. Her instruments were detecting massive energy fluctuations throughout the galaxy as ancient human technology began awakening after its long sleep. "Admiral Morrison, are you receiving this?" She radioed to the infiltration team. "We're detecting quantum resonance patterns from the sleeping worlds. They're not just waking up, they're connecting to each other." Morrison's radio crackled with her transmission. "What does that mean, Doctor?" "The ancient humans built a backup network," Lisa explained excitedly. "If their main civilization was ever destroyed, the sleeping colonies would automatically link together and rebuild everything." In the alien command center, Zeth Kalar was watching his tactical displays with growing alarm. Confederation ships throughout the galaxy were reporting system failures as the awakening human colonies began asserting control over their stolen technology. "This cannot be happening," the alien leader said. "We purged them. We destroyed every world, every ship, every trace of their existence." "You destroyed their civilization," Morrison corrected, "but you built your own on their foundation. And now the foundation is taking back what belongs to it." Kate's upload reached completion just as the sleeping worlds finished their connection sequence. The virus spread through the Confederation's quantum network in seconds, but instead of simply disabling their systems, it began something much more profound. "The virus isn't destroying their technology," Kate reported in wonder. "It's restoring it, returning it to its original programming." Around the galaxy, Confederation ships found their weapons turning toward each other. Their navigation systems began plotting courses away from human worlds. Their communication networks started broadcasting messages in ancient human languages. "You have returned what was never yours to take," Morrison said to Zeth Kalar. 50,000 years ago, you stole our technology and used it to commit genocide. Today, that same technology remembers its true purpose." The alien leader's crystalline form began to crack as stress fractures appeared across his body. "We were the rightful inheritors. We were strong enough to take it." "Strength isn't about taking," Morrison replied. "It's about protecting. Our ancestors understood that. They shared their knowledge freely because they wanted to help others grow stronger." On the tactical displays, the final protocol system was shutting down as human override codes took control. The weapon that was designed to exterminate humanity was instead broadcasting a message of welcome to the awakening colonies. Danny Mitchell finished setting his charges, but it was clear they wouldn't be needed. The Confederation fleet was surrendering ship by ship as their stolen technology refused to obey them. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of Earth." Morrison spoke into his communicator, broadcasting on all frequencies. "For 50,000 years, you have lived on stolen ground, wielding stolen technology, built upon the graves of our ancestors. You thought humanity was extinct. You were wrong." His message reached every corner of the galaxy, carried by the same quantum network that the aliens had used to coordinate their empire. "This is our galaxy, and we have come home." Zeth Kalar collapsed as the stress fractures spread through his crystalline body. "We only did what any species would do. We took what we needed to survive." "No," Morrison said firmly. "You took what you wanted, not what you needed. Our ancestors offered you partnership. You chose domination instead. The sleeping worlds were now fully online, their ancient cities coming back to life after 50 millennia of waiting. Ships that had been hidden in deep space began emerging, their human crews awakening from suspended animation to find their descendants fighting the same enemy their grandparents had faced. Kate disconnected her equipment from the alien computer. The network is completely under human control now. Every Confederation ship is being offered the same choice: surrender and face judgment, or be destroyed by their own technology. Most of the alien ships chose surrender. A few tried to fight, but their weapons turned against them as the restored human programming asserted control. In the command center, the surviving alien officers knelt before Morrison's team, their rebellion finally over. The empire they had built on stolen technology and genocide was collapsing around them. "What will you do with us?" one of them asked. Morrison looked around the room, seeing the memorial to destroyed humanity that the aliens had maintained for 50,000 years. Even in their guilt, they had preserved the memory of their victims. "You will face justice," he said, "but not the kind of justice you gave our ancestors."